Welcome everybody to Forza Motorsport 6, and today we're taking a look at the 2015 Ford Mustang GT. Now this car is a 6th generation Mustang, marking the 50th anniversary of the Mustang brand, which quite frankly is one of the longest, if not the longest, going cars ever. I think only the Corvette matches or it succeeds against this. So yeah, it's also the first to be marketed and sold globally, and also the first to have left-hand drive versions of the car along with right-hand versions. So yeah, a car that's truly gone global now after being mainly sold in America. So this car is quite frankly a decent looking car. I don't think it's the best looking Mustang ever, but it is pretty good looking, and I like the references to previous models with the slanted rear headlights and the well, you know, the rear wheel drive front engine layout, which I don't think Mustang is ever going to change really, even though there are inline 4 and V6 versions now. But there've always been them kind of versions somewhat in some of the generations of Mustang, but this is the first time there's been an inline 4 since the 90s. So yeah, they've really trying to expand their market, and it looks pretty decent inside and sounds pretty good as well, as we'll find out. Sounds even better on the track, but it does rev really quite high for a standard V8 Mustang. Obviously this isn't the likes of the GT350 or GT350R, and there isn't any GT500s of this car coming out apparently, so yeah, still pretty high revving nonetheless, and that's thanks to its pretty awesome engine, quite frankly. 5 litre V8 producing 421 horsepower and a healthy 391 pounds-feet of torque. Now granted, that's not the most power you're going to get out of this Mustang, because the GT350R has more than 500 horsepower and plenty more torque as well, but for a standard V8 Mustang, that is pretty damn decent, quite frankly. And it's actually not all that far off the 2007 Shelby GT500, which had 500 horsepower. And this car's engine is not just decently powerful, it's also better in terms of emissions and fuel efficiency. So yeah, you get all the benefits of the power with none of the drawbacks. Now it's not the most practical car in the world. As you can see, it's got a pretty small boot, but I'm pretty sure you're not buying. If you were to buy this car, you weren't going to be on about practicality in the first place. And yeah, the best and most differential version between this and the last generation is the handling. So we're going to take this out onto the track and see what it can do. Right, we're at Prague full circuit. We're going to take this car around on the first lap and talk through it on the second lap. So yeah, as you can see, even in the hands of someone as dopey as me, this is a cracking handling car. In part, that's down to the fact that it doesn't weigh all that much compared to either its rivals or even comparison to other post-2000 Mustangs. So yeah, it weighs 3,618 pounds, which is pretty decent for an American car, especially a modern one with all the technology that's more expected nowadays of cars from like this. So yeah, and another reason is the fact that it has fully independent rear suspension, which is, I think, a first for a full production Mustang. There might have been rarer variants that had that kind of suspension, but in terms of a full production base V8 model, this is the first fully independent rear suspension instead of those live axle Mustangs that everyone knows about. Because even the likes of the Shelby GT500 from a few years ago with all that power had a live rear axle, and yeah, even though that did have decent handling and made the most of a bad setup, it still had that live rear axle, which on the whole isn't really competitive anymore, especially when you're dealing against European rivals, which this car is no doubt trying to go up against. And quite frankly, I think it will succeed, quite frankly, because it has a varying amount of engines that can go into it, and this V8 is easily the best of them. But you know, if you were after a more economical Mustang, I don't know why you would be, but if you were, then you've got that choice. But this V8 is easily the best engine out of the lot, not only because it's powerful, but because it sounds absolutely amazing. And it's also quick in terms of acceleration, 0 to 60, 4.1 seconds, 0 to 100 in 10.5, which is pretty damn quick. It's even quicker than the Camaro Z28 to 60 by 0.3 of a second, even though that has like 80 horsepower more. But obviously top speed and 0 to 100 is less. This does 174, that does more than 180. But still a cracking sports car, and now it's a rival for other cars outside of the American market, which quite frankly is what Ford needs it to be like. So yeah, it's a good compromise between old school V8 brute force and good handling in a good sports car. So yeah, easily one of my favourite modern Mustangs. I do prefer the GT500 from 2013 a bit more, just because that's a bit more mad and a bit more insane, and a whole lot quicker as well. But this is still solid. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.